Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Again, February 9th, 2022, a year ago today, we all lost our jobs at 1040. We're going to be running some classic 1040 clips throughout the program. What's today? Is it Wednesday? It is. Today, all of our guests, including Jay Pat, standing by, brought to you by the Alberni Power and Marine RPM Group, located in Port Alberni. Alberni Power and Marine is one of Vancouver Island's most trusted boat dealerships, the largest Mercury Marine dealership in Canada. Their service team just won fourth consecutive year with the CSI score again above the national average. Who wrote this copy? Did you write this copy?
Henderson did.
Make your appointment today for the 2022 boating season at albernipowermarine.com. I'll get on it after the show. Okay, as we bring in Jeff Paterson in the wake of a 5-1 Canucks victory over the Coyotes. Canucks and Islanders. It's a late start tonight at Rogers Arena. Jeff, thanks for doing this. How are you?
I'm good, guys. Is it an anniversary? Do we say happy anniversary on a day like this? And if so, should I have brought flowers or balloons? I guess with Dollywall, you could always bring Crown. That would always take care of it. It's always appropriate. But is it an anniversary?
Yeah, I think we remember it, Jeff, because it was a big part of the city, and it happened a year ago today.
Well, it's happy for us because, Jeff, yourself, myself, Ryan, we've landed jobs. We know friends of ours from that day. They lost their jobs, and they haven't found work since. So it's not happy for them, and our thoughts go out to them. What goes through your mind on a day like today, Jeff?
Well, I heard you guys talking about it in the opening segment. I have tried to move on, and it is incredible the opportunities that have presented themselves, and so proud to be associated with you guys and Sekeres and Price, and it's great to have Halford and Ruff back on the air, and Moj at Super Bowl this week. So, guys are able to do what they continue to love doing and had done so well. I guess, we were all there at different times with 1040. I'm not sure the station ever sounded better when they pulled the plug. And that's always been one of the great frustrations for me. You went over some of the reasons these things happen. It was beyond our control, but it wasn't like there were no listeners or sponsors. And I guess the aftermath, just the outpouring, what the station had come to mean for so many people. And I'm sure you guys got notes, and I did as well. People that talked about, they would sit and listen with their dying grandfather, and sports was something that they bonded over. And people that were new to Canada said that they listened and learned so much about sports. Imagine not learning sports from us, but they learned a lot about the sports that they were watching on television. There were people that, blind people. I had a guy that said, you guys were such a huge part of my life. And, you always know that there are people listening, but you don't think about it on the other side of the radio and what these voices mean to people and sort of that bond that has been established and created. And 1040 was able to do that. It truly was part of the community. And as I said, with all due respect to everybody that had a hand in it, at the end, it was cooking with gas. I'm not sure that the station ever sounded better than it did on February 9th, 2021. And yet powers that be in Toronto or Montreal felt fit to pull the plug and kick us to the curb.
Okay. We'll turn to the Canucks 5-1 victory over the Coyotes. What impressed you about that? I was going to say shorthanded. They had 6 guys, but the defensive core that was without Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, and it kind of tracks back even before the All-Star break. Remember when Tucker Poolman went out in Winnipeg and the Canucks were down to 5 defensemen, and then in Calgary, Tyler Myers got the match penalty and they played the bulk of that game with 5. They had 6 last night, but without Quinn Hughes, certainly they were minus their best offensive driver. OEL has been waiting for an opportunity. He stepped in, and I know he said it was a little bit weird playing against his former team, but this guy's run power plays in the National Hockey League for a lot of years and with a fair bit of success. So I wasn't surprised that he was able to step in. Power play, chipped in with a couple of goals. He had the 3 assists. Noah Juulsen, honestly, when the Canucks made the trade and it kind of felt like a swap of defensemen that just hadn't really panned out for their respective teams, and Lammikko was a throw-in, but Lammikko has turned into a pretty decent player under Bruce Boudreau, and I give Noah Juulsen credit. This guy has stepped in and hasn't looked out of place, so he could be a depth piece here for the foreseeable future. And again, this is all about auditioning for Patrick Alvin and Jim Rutherford and Bruce Boudreau and everybody that's new to the organization. And I think in limited minutes, Noah Juleson has put his best foot forward. And I thought it was fascinating and maybe didn't get the play. I'm glad you guys talked about the fact that 3 local guys on defense for the Vancouver Canucks. And Donnie, you mentioned a night, and I remember it well because it was the first night I ever hosted a Vancouver Canucks broadcast, October 2nd, 1999. Come in the Wayback Machine with me. But the Canucks opened at home against the Rangers. The Rangers were out here for opening night. And the Canucks had 4 BC defensemen that night. You didn't mention Greg Hawgood, along with the other 3. They had Chris Joseph, Doug Bodger, and Murray Barron, so represented around the province. But these are 3 guys with ties to Metro Vancouver, extending out into the Fraser Valley. Like, this is a really good news story. And Ricky, you gave him credit. Kyle Burrows quickly becoming a fan favorite.
Absolutely.
I saw people drawing comparisons to a young Kevin Bieksa. He's got a long way to go, but talk about a guy that's not afraid to step in and step up, and gave up some size and weight to Lawson Krause, but wasn't afraid to throw him there last night, and then got the crowd into it as well. So, yeah, I thought guys are – look, Travis Hamonic is skating again. He's waiting in the wings. Poolman likely to come back at some point. There are going to be decisions that have to be made here. And I think a lot of these defensemen, they recognize that there are spots and there are jobs to be had here, and guys are trying to put their best foot forward.
I found it interesting, Jeff, the Garland reaction last night. You know, his name's popped up in trade rumors. He yesterday said, hey, I haven't been playing well. He had gone 7 games, and boom, he not only gets a goal, a team-leading 5 shots on net. So that looked like a person possessed to me last night that said, you know what, he had a good game last night after struggling for a bit here.
Yeah, and beating himself up after the morning skate. When I asked him about look, you look at the month of January for Conway Garland. He went into protocol on the wrong side of the border. He missed a bunch of time. There was the extended Christmas break, and then there was that week off when the home games were postponed, and then into the All-Star break. Like, it's just been stops and starts here for a guy like that, and I do think that that's played into it. And I kind of gave him the easy out with my question, and he treated himself like a piñata. Like, he just started hammering himself about how bad he was and how poorly he had been playing. And I think the quote was, "It sucks when you're sucking." Whatever the case, looked inspired to face his former team. And the Coyotes were complicit in his goal. Like, the defense there, 5 guys standing around. He found the soft spot on the ice, and Juleson found him with the pass there. And so that had to feel good for Conway Garland. He hadn't scored since New Year's night in Seattle. So it had been a long time coming. Again, he had missed some time in there. But look, he's paid to score. He was acquired to score some goals. By his own measures, he hasn't lived up to expectations. So maybe the All-Star break could be a fresh break, and that's a great way to start it. And look, the overarching theme last night was best players, right? When you look at Paterson and Besser and Horvat and Miller and Garland all scoring, those are the guys that are supposed to score. And quite frankly, they haven't done enough of it. And there haven't been enough nights this season where some combination of those players has found the score sheet. But again, if we go back in time, not to 1999, this was just before the break, but the win in Winnipeg at the start of the road trip when Miller had the hat trick and Besser and Paterson both scored, the power play scored twice. Like, it reminded me a lot of that night, because the Canucks had a 3-1 lead going to the third period then. Last night it was 3-1. You don't want to give the Coyotes any life. And I like under Bruce Boudreau, like, they extend, like they're pushing. They're not sitting back and trying to protect the lead. They're looking to extend, and they got 2 more goals in the third period last night. And so in Winnipeg that night, their top-end players carried the day, and it took them a little while to get going out of the All-Star break last night. The first period wasn't great. Arizona was probably the better team for the first 20 minutes, but that's what Thatcher Demko does. Demko, he looked good, right back in after his All-Star appearance. And so you have to lump him in when you talk about best players. And really, last night was all about the Canucks' best players taking over a game and leading them to victory, a win that they had to have, a win that they should have had. It's Arizona. Everybody else was picking up points against the Coyotes. If the Canucks want to stay competitive, they had to get that victory last night. And so credit to the top-end guys for stepping up.
Jeff, can I borrow your jacket? I'm freezing in here. I've asked these guys to put the heat up. They won't do it. You're in your living room wearing a jacket. What's going on?
Well, I didn't have a vest, so I thought this
Turn the heat up. There's a fireplace behind you. Turn the heat up.
He's not in the same studio as us, just so you know, Rick.
Anyways, send your jacket over. I'm freezing in here.
Very quickly, Jeff, the bonus baby, Halak, does he start tonight? Back-to-back situation.
I think he will, but at the same time, they have a couple of days here before they face Toronto on Saturday. It wouldn't shock me if they went back to Thatcher Demko 35 saves last night. We said he was really good, sort of quietly really good. But I do think, it's the 10th appearance for Halak, and Jim Rutherford has said that he's not too worried about the bonus kicking in, that they can move the bonus along with the player if he consents to a trade ahead of the deadline. So I'm expecting that it's going to be Jaro Halak, but I suppose we'll find out here. This much I know, the Canucks will have a goalie in net tonight.
We'll say hi to your Kamloops buddy, Ken Hitchcock, at the top of the hour, Jeff, for you. Any message you want to pass along?
No, I mean, he was gone by the time I got to Kamloops, but he always came back in the summers. I got to know him. I played a little golf with him over the years as well. Great guy, and I hope you've devoted, 20, 30 minutes for that segment, because nobody loves talking hockey, and nobody does a better job of talking hockey than Hitch. So looking forward to hearing what he has to say.
I think you can give him competition, J-Pat. Thanks for this, my friend.
All right, guys.